Bobby Roast Beef here, Jigs and friggin' Bigs. We got one hell of a show this week. It's kind of been wild. So this week has been busy, like busy for me. But there's been something that's kind of been a little bit of an obstacle we're going to talk about. It's probably one of the darkest stories we've ever actually talked about here on Jigs and Bigs. And it's had me just a mess. I have been out one time on a very unique trip this week that we're going to talk about and get into it. And we're also going to be talking about planning your off-season fishing trips. If you're looking to put together like that dream fishing trip with the boys, I've got tips for you on how to make that happen. Ways to kind of break it down bit by bit and do it ahead of time so you're not overwhelmed when the time comes for the trip. We've got multiple calls from different callers this week in the live well. We're going to be talking about some destination lakes, talking about all kinds of good stuff in there, and we have an FTG that I think is going to surprise you guys. You got me, you got who the fuck is Joe Brown? Guys, get yourself something delicious to enjoy. We're going to go ahead and get this show started right after this. Telling you. Oh, look, we got John Carter in the house as well as Vidal. Oh. Good morning. It's an early morning. And as we record this, you guys are getting this. This is what I like to call one of the most late-breaking recording sessions possible because I'll be editing this afternoon and then dropping it tonight. So it'll be available just in mere hours from when we record this. So you guys are getting the most up-to-date stuff right here on Jigs and Bigs. Joe, how are you this morning, dude? Good morning.
I'm good, man. Good morning. I'm tired. I'm not going to. Oh, yeah. I didn't set my alarm because I always get up so early. And I was like, I woke up at 8. I was like, oh, shit.
Unbelievable, dude. Unfreaking believable. Yeah. This week has been something else, but let's actually get people caught up to date just in case we haven't before. There's a couple things going on that are pressing that we gotta talk about. First off, if you're new here, if you're just listening to Jigs and Bigs for the very first time, we are a weekly fishing podcast, but we like to try to think about this as a way to entertain you guys as much as possible, not just give the occasional tip to kind of help you capitalize on the water as best as possible. We do all the fishy stuff, all the fishy adjacent things. And if you're into the show and you want to follow us on social media, we're pretty much everywhere. Both Jigs and Bigs and Joe on American Vet Fishing. You can follow us on YouTube. The podcast does play there as well, but also on all your favorite podcast platforms. So whether you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of the other podcast platforms that are available, you can listen to us each and every Tuesday morning with a brand new doozy of an episode. Some of these are ambitious listens, but we give you something meaty to carry you through the week. If you really like the show, make sure to check us out on Patreon because as we record these, we live stream exclusively to our Patreon audience. So these folks are the ones that we mentioned earlier, John Carter and Vidal, jumping in here, seeing how the show's recorded so that as we say stupid things, they actually get to react in real time and jump in the comments and kind of engage with the show live that way. So if you're into that, it's a $5 a month subscription. It helps keep the show going and you're supporting us. We also try to hook you up with as many additional discounts as we can from some of our show partners and just some of the connections that we make along the way. We do something really interesting here at Jigs and Bigs too. We like to actually fish with you, and we do so in a competitive fashion. And we've got a club on Fishing Chaos, which is an online fishing platform, and we do tournaments on occasion, and we have a monthly scavenger hunt series that's pretty popular. We also have, and what has been, I think, probably the most popular this year is a monthly single day slot limit style bass tournament. And this is a way for folks anywhere around the country to be competitive with folks anywhere else in the country because this is all about your average typical size fish. We're talking about fish that range in the slot from 12 inches at a minimum to a maximum of 17. So it's a catch 'em all style. I have a ton of fish to judge every single month, hundreds of catches from folks all over the place, and we have a real great time doing it. The next one is next Saturday. It is Labor Day weekend. It's a little bit of an experiment. We're going to see how it works on a holiday weekend, if it's something that we should continue avoiding or if it's something that we can just kind of capitalize on and maybe get more people interested. So this Saturday, the 30th, August 30th, is the event. And you can fish any body of water that you have access to. And all full rules are available at Fishing Chaos. You can check all of this stuff out, too, at jigsandbigs.com. Now, you got until, I think it's Friday at like midnight. that night. So I guess like 11:59 p.m. Friday is when you can register, or is when registration is shut off. So if you're toying around with the idea,
get off the pot and just register.
We usually end up with about, like, I would say anywhere from 15 to 25 anglers, and it's a really, really good time. You never know how it's going to work out. Actually, some of our regular names that have been in there have been talking about needing to switch up bodies of water because of some of the recreational activities happening on the water. So this could be a big wrench in the mix. If you haven't joined one of these, this is a good opportunity to. One piece of equipment you will need is a catch board, but you can get that pretty much anywhere these days. Make sure to order one today, and you'll have it in time for Saturday. That about does it as far as that, Joe. As far as that goes, Joe, I have not much this week, but what I have swings a giant spectrum of emotion. Mm-hmm. It really does. Do you want to do a weekly recap, or
yeah, first? I'll do. Mine's gonna be quick, dude. Let's talk.
Yeah.
So I did nothing fishing. I was at training all week. However, most likely my last big training cycle like that, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yep.
And, yeah, so a little backstory. So now that I'm like about to retire, I don't give a fuck. So I'm part of the 104th Fighter Wing out in Westfield, Massachusetts, and we're in Air Force Base, and we have F-15s there. We are actually our F-15s are going away, and we're upgrading to the F-35. It's all over the news. It's no secret. So this past what was that, Saturday, we had a farewell to the F-15 party, because they're all going dermo, getting basically pulled apart. Because, dude, they're from the late 70s, early 80s. Oh, yeah. They're older than me. Yeah. They're older than me. That's crazy. It's time for them to go. So we had a big party. It's a military party, especially we do it right. Yep. We do parties right. There's a band. There was 4 or 5 breweries set up there. So with that comes some drinking. And what was cool is a couple former pilots of the unit from back when we had the A-10s and the F-15s, who are now retired, brought in their 1943 World War II training biplanes, right?
Oh.
Really cool. Really cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So, and they were like, hey, we're going to give people rides. Put your names in the hat, and we're going to give people rides. I was like, at first, I was like, whatever. I'll let the young kids do it. I don't care. Like, I'm not even going to put my name in the hat.
And a couple of IPAs later,
had a couple drinks. I'm like, man, fuck this, dude. I was like, I'm about to retire. I was like, I want to go on that thing. These are open air, like the goggles and fucking leather helmet. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
And so, dude, I just hear they're like, yep, once your name gets called, just go up in that line right there, and it's time. I'm like, I'm just gonna go up it to the line. Like, I didn't put my name in, nothing like that. So I just walk right up to the line. They're like, oh, you got called? I was like,
yep.
Sure did. And they're like, sick. They're like, let's go. And my buddy, a good friend of mine from the unit, he's like, you didn't put your name in. I'm like, shh. He's like, hell yeah. So, dude, I hop in this thing. I am 3 sheets to the wind, man. That's what I think made it even better.
That's awesome.
So we get, I hop in this thing, and he's like, all right, here's the, like, as we're walking up, he's like, here's what you do. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I'm just like hopping on the wing and like hopping, and we're in the front seat, the pilot's in the back seat, we're in the front seat. And, so I put the harness on, I put the fucking like leather looking helmet fucking thing on. I have videos on TikTok, everyone. Yes. I think I'm going to throw it on Instagram too. It's funny. Oh, Jesus. But, dude, it was just wild. We just did like a quick loop. It was like 10 minutes of flying, just like a quick loop around essentially the airfield. But dude, like I got so fucking windburned on my forehead, dude.
Oh, I bet.
I'm like, looking around, and everything, taking videos, and it was cool, man. It was a really cool experience. Dude, did I feel bad about it because I like just went up there? No. Not even a little bit. Because I know there's no fucking way I was the only person that did that. But because it's not like they're like, okay, let me see your ticket. They're like, oh, you got called? I'm like, yeah, sure did, man. Let's do this. So yeah, so that was a cool thing I got to do. And then man, that was pretty much it. That was the only cool thing that happened. Nothing fishing related.
It's still pretty
hopefully
cool,
hopefully this week I'll my boat's still down from that whole like fuse thing. I haven't had the time to do it.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Well,
so I'm gonna try. And like today is a shit show of like getting, because me and Meg are assholes and wait last minute for everything. So I gotta go get school supplies and like all that bullshit today. And but it's Labor Day weekend coming up, so I should be able to hopefully get the boat out, as long as I can find a body of water that's not absolutely devastated with wreck boats.
That's exactly what my thing is. You should do the slot tournament.
So
Saturday.
I'm trying. We had a few plans for Labor Day weekend, so I'm trying to like work stuff around that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But like even like my body of water down the street, dude, has been
insane.
The last couple nights I've driven by there, it's just, dude. What was it? Last night we went to Dan Griffin's house for a little bit last night, and dude, I drive right by the boat ramp to get back home, and dude, there was like 6 or 7 jet skis just sitting there waiting to like, dude, it was dude, they're blocking the road. They're like parked perpendicular with the dude, it was a mess. And even Meg's like, what the fuck are they doing?
Rough. That's rough.
And it's funny because I think I've told you this before. Technically, that's not a state boat ramp. Technically, that's only supposed to be used by East Brookfield, North Brookfield residents.
Oh, really?
No one enforces it. No one cares.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like you get all these riffraff like Connecticut plates, and you know what I mean?
And they're like, oh yeah, there's this little spot we're gonna go. It's awesome, and
it's because they get kicked out or get yelled at other places, so they just keep finding new. Because
look elsewhere.
That body of water isn't somewhere you usually worry about. I mean, you've been on it a bunch of times. Yeah. Like it's not usually a place you worry about those things.
It's a great body of water too, because it is small enough where you're like, I don't think the draw. And I thought the same way actually about Congamon Jr. I was like, yeah, it's small enough. You're not going to get like insane wreck boaters like you would at something like a Winnipesaukee or whatever at all. But you'd be amazed. It doesn't take much to get it shitted up.
No, it's like, dude, they were like on the side of the road there. They were literally blocking one lane of the road. Like, I can't believe they didn't get towed. Like their trailers and shit.
Yeah.
And because, there's literally only 5 parking places there. Yeah. Like legitimate parking places.
Oh, yeah. So, it's crazy.
So I was just surprised. I was like, fuck. And she's like, Jesus, that's cool. So I actually meant to text my buddy who lives on the lake to see like, dude, it was crazy. But yeah, man, that was my week. Nothing fun. And I'm excited to hear your week.
Oh, but something.
You got to give me 30 seconds. Talk about something else, because my coffee from DoorDash is sitting on the stoop of the door and I'm going to get it. Sorry, everybody.
All right. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to talk about the slot limit tournament a little bit more when you get back. This is going to be good. All right. So I got a doozy coming up, guys. My week, I only got out one fishing trip, which was an amazing trip, by the way. But I am going to tell you that Saturday's trip, Binny and I kind of have like this loose overall sort of plan where we're going to generally fish a lot of these bodies of water routinely. I got to double check and see what the plan is. Now, Saturday's like my only day off this week, and I'm fishing the tournament, obviously, but I have this idea, and I want to see if maybe he wants to fish Massachusetts this month. I have a spot, and I think I'm going to go and pre-fish it probably like Tuesday or Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. I'll probably make a trip up there and do a little pre-fishing, get an idea of what we're dealing with, because I'm fingers crossed. I don't know that this has the appeal for wreck boaters the way some other bodies of water do. I think we could be in business, so that'll be a friggin' good one. I also have, like I mentioned, my schedule is absolute shit right now. I'm doing trivia nights, and this is why we're recording on a Monday in the morning, is because we have to kind of play, schedule roulette here and figure out when we're both able to record. So our recording date's going to jump around because I'm doing trivia now Sunday through Friday, with Saturday being the only day off. Now, let's talk about this. This is how I started my week last Monday. All right. I get up first thing in the morning and I'm like, all right, everything's cool. I got all this footage from Winnipesaukee. I had to get, Mondays are usually, a lot of times it's my office day where I knock out a bunch of shit. And I take and I go, I just want to go through this card and see what's up. Now, this is the second time in my GoPro, and I believe it's the same micro SD card that gave me the issue. I could see all the clips on my GoPro. Actually see them. If I went through and scrolled through, I could see all the clips there. They were there. The card registered that X number of the space was used. So I knew that there was data that was there. But when I open up the folder, it's empty. There's nothing in there. So I couldn't import to look at the clips and organize what was good, what was junk, all that stuff. So I am just struggling at this point. Struggling. I'm like, this is bad. The last time this happened, I was able to go through the GoPro app and use the app to import, and it took forever to do it, but I was able to do it. This time it wouldn't even do it. So I said, you know what, fuck it, I'm just buying a new micro SD card. This was some super cheap job that I bought at like Walgreens in a pinch, and I was like, screw it, we're just going to replace it, and hopefully that does the trick. So this last trip that I went on was the test for that. So unfortunately, I don't have the main camera footage from that trip. I do have an entire day's worth of footage on my rear camera. So I might be able to get some clips from that. I am hoping I have that clip of my father losing that giant when I went to go grab him and net it. I'm hoping I have that. There's a couple other clips that I'm hoping I have too. So that was Monday morning. I get through Monday and I'm launching a brand new trivia night that night, and I get out there and everything's cool. This is in a real tough neighborhood, this spot. And there's going to be a little bit of a challenge getting folks out regularly in here, but we're going to make it happen. It's going to be good. So I get there. Joe, I pretty much know like everybody. Like you do. People all over, they know me, and if they don't know me, like from the podcast or something,
local either.
Yeah, this extends. I can be in some of the most random places, and people will just be like, "Holy shit, Bobby roast beef," and it comes from over like what it really comes from is over 30 years of doing events and being in places and being an entertainer. Like it just like people, they see me all the time, plus working in the news business. Like I know so many freaking people all over the place. There are people who come out to play trivia and I'm just like, who the fuck are you? And they're just talking to me. So like, I know fucking everybody. So I get a text from somebody who plays my trivia game off and on every so often. This is a great person too. She's awesome. And she is, I'm just going to say she works in and around like law enforcement. All right. Okay. So I and I've known this for a long time. And she's awesome. She's come and bring her kids to trivia. Just absolutely great. I get a text from her and she's like, "Hey, I gotta tell you something." She says, "You remember that weird dude from Delaney House? It was one of my trivia accounts on Sunday." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Yeah," because I remember she had played there a couple of times and had noted this one guy. Well, this one guy is part of a trivia team that I've mentioned on the show before. Mm-hmm. The Horny Leprechauns. I've mentioned them on the show, and this one guy is sort of like, he's like the glue that holds that team together. I think if he wasn't in the picture, I think that the team would just dissipate. They wouldn't show up to trivia. I think he's the one that brings everybody together, and they gather and everything else, because he's the only one that goes to multiple trivia venues. Remember the story when I talked about the guy that boofed all over the floor at the bar?
Yes.
This is him. It's that guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, now I can relate a little better.
A little bit of the backstory about the Horny Leprechaun. So when our paths first crossed, it was at a trivia night. They came in, and upon talking to them, it was pretty obvious. Like, these are dudes that are on the spectrum. You know what I mean? And I mean, sure. Just from what I do, like trivia brings a lot of folks that are on the spectrum. They're drawn to that because they're, number one, they're good with it. Number two, it's a social situation that's organized. And a lot of these folks absolutely love that shit. So I see this all the time. And, obviously, like when it comes to social cues and things like that, you've got to add for like a little bit of like sensitivity to that, I'll give you a perfect example. This one dude really would, in between rounds of trivia, would go table to table and like talk shop with people. But we're New Englanders and we're uptight. Like, we don't really, we're not really, like, into the idea of just, like, random folks from tables popping by and whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there's this weird sort of barrier that we put up.
You're 100% right, dude.
So, like, and
we're a different breed.
And I'll tell you, there was one instance where this wasn't that long ago. It was only a couple of weeks ago, but there was a table that he had gone and done this with, and then they were making fun of him. And I was like, no, that's not going to fly. So one of my teams had tipped it off, and she actually had gone up to him and straightened him out. I was like, holy shit. Okay, well, good for you. And I was just like, no, it makes sense. Well, I get a text from this one individual, and she's like, that dude was arrested. So let me back up a little bit more. This wasn't yesterday, but it was a week ago. It was the Sunday night before this crazy Monday went on. I'm at my trivia event, and the bartender working and all the teams are there like, where's this little dude? Like, he's always here. Where is he? And I was like, I don't know, must have had a better offer. Who knows, And it's summertime, like, people, their schedules change and shit like that. I was like, I didn't think anything of it. Well, I found out why he wasn't at trivia, and it's because he was in
jail.
Okay. Ooh, it's getting good.
Oh, it's getting fucking real good. So I get a text from one of my regular players, and she's providing information saying that, hey, this dude was arrested on Saturday for attacking a woman in a local town. And I'm like, for real? And I'm like, he was always like, a lot of people, like, like, I would only catch so much conversation because, like, I'm working. I'm not watching one specific person or anything like that. But, like, and I've had people mention to me in the past, like, he had said, like, odd shit, like, randomly just been like, hey, do you have any kids? Are you married? Mm-hmm. And I always kind of joked that he was like hitting on some of the women that were there or something like that. I didn't realize how rampant it was. I learned this week. So he attacked a woman in a local town, and apparently the way that it went down. So when initially I was like, holy shit. So she's like, her thing was, you should really let all the women at these places that he plays, like, know that, like, if he shows up anywhere, like, be careful, like, this is a thing. And I explained to her, I was like, I need to know more information because a few months ago, this motherfucker interviewed at my daughter's high school. So I got a full scrubbed report of this. So, like, none of the information about the victim, none of the information about streets or locating anything, nothing like that, just info and the mugshot. So she's like, so obviously she's like, take all this for what it is, innocent until proven guilty and all, but the entire encounter was captured on camera. So I was like, okay, so Buddy's cooked. That's good, because at least now he'll show up in, like, a search or something. Because if this was a first offense, I was like, so I'm, like, freaking out. I'm like, all right, I need to reach out. Well, the next day I was on the phone with the principal of my daughter's school, and I was like, listen, I got this information. Like, it's going to be coming out soon. I just need to make sure that this isn't one of your new hires, because he told me he had interviewed here. And, just brought it up because he has, and another player had mentioned, this dude's bounced from job to job to job, like, since he's been playing. And again, this is something like I'm not privy to this. I'm a game show host. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, wow, that's kind of crazy. And then, so the speculation is there, like, are these HR issues where people are just like, hey, you're kind of a problem around the office. We got to go. Or you're doing these things that are not within our standards of community for, this workplace or something. And it makes you just wonder what's been going on. So this all happened. Well, it gets juicier. So I felt like, obviously, like, so I've been, truth be told, I've been looking for a reason to get rid of this team. They're terrible to the staff at every single place that they play trivia. They don't tip for shit. They're demanding. They're needy. They're ridiculous. There's one specific guy who is just, now this team wins a lot. None of the rules that I set in place to try to keep things balanced or give other people an opportunity, at least a shot to be able to win the game, is like none of these things have really ever hindered this team. They win like weeks on weeks on weeks on weeks. They get a little bit cocky about it. And I'm like, I have been looking for just something so I can be like, you guys are done. In fact, about a month ago or two, maybe a month or two ago, there was one instance where I overheard this one guy say, not the dude that got arrested, but another teammate go, oh, that fast track wheel is bullshit. And I pulled him aside afterwards. I was like, one more comment about the rules that I set up for this game, the way I run the game, the mechanics of the game, anything like that. I was like, I'm just going to block your device. Like, I'll just, like, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I've had to talk to these guys about, like, you know, dealing with staff and stuff like that. In fact, I try now to just put that on the managers. And I was like, so I've been looking for it. I did not need this level of a reason, like something like a little bit more. But I was like, here we are. That's what we're dealing with. So I've been talking with a bunch of the players and letting them know. And the stories I have gotten from them, what's scary is some of the shit from the report that was in there, like what the victim had said that he had said to her. It's exactly the same. And I'm like, fuck. It's just so gross, you know what I mean? And creepy. So Thursday night rolls around, and that's their like regular night where the whole crew comes out. And I've been, you know, letting people know, like, hey, so the Horny Leprechauns are done. Like, they're not at any of my games anymore. And people have been DMing me. She's like, oh, what happened? What was the thing? Nobody ever expected anything like this. Like, nobody. Everybody's just like, are you serious? And I'm like, no, absolutely, 100%. And then people have been looking further into it and getting more information. It's just the whole thing is just gross. And homeboy decides he's going to come into trivia that night.
Okay.
So I catch him at the door.
Just him or the whole team?
The whole team. And here's what's even crazier. So when I say the whole team, it fluctuates. It could be as few as just 2 of them or as many as like 5 or 6.
Okay.
But this was 3 dudes, right? And he was one of them. He's walking in, and like there was one team specifically I had a conversation way early in the week via text with, and they have been playing alongside this team on Thursday nights for years now. And they've had interactions back and forth, and I knew that there was some gross shit like in between the 2 of them, but like they've always handled it unbelievably well and like shut it down. You know what I mean? So it's never really been an issue. So I never thought anything of it. I was talking with them. So they happened to be sitting up in the front, and they're like, oh, hey, here he comes. And so I went over to the door. I met him at the door, and I was like, hey, guys, tonight's not a good night. And they're like, oh, what do you mean? What do you mean? And I was like, I look at the dude in the face, and I was like, dude, I know about what happened on Saturday night. Don't come back. And then I just shut the door. And he didn't respond with like, hey, I didn't do anything or anything like that. He just looked like he saw a ghost. Like, which was
that's a way better reaction.
It really kind of is. Seriously, it kind of is. So I'm like, all right, that's great. Now again, like, this is the dude that boofed all over the floor at one place, showed up and played the rest of the round, then showed up the next night to play trivia at the next place. So I'm like, is he going to try to show up? Because it's Thursday night. I was off on Friday. I go, is he going to show up? Because Sundays are his next night. He did not show up on Sunday. On Saturday, on Friday, actually, I got a DM from one of the teammates because I've already blocked him on social media and stuff. I don't want him to see any of the stuff that I'm promoting, anything like that, whatever. So I get a DM from one of the teammates that I didn't realize was following me. And this is the thing. If I had to make a guess, I don't think that this dude called any of his family or anything to bail him out. I think he would have called one of the dudes on the trivia team.
Sure.
One of them is his roommate. Like, I think he probably would have started there. That was the dude that called, that sent me a DM and was like, hey, dude, I don't know what he did, but it must be pretty bad. So, you know, I understand if you don't want to see us again, that's fine. He's like, he goes, just remember us for the good times. I'm like, all right, will do, buddy.
All right, buddy.
So yeah, it was a bit of an adventure all the way through the week. Now, on top of that, not only was I dealing with all this stuff, but I had this is the first wedding of 2025 I've had this year. Was this past Saturday, and it was awesome. It was great. I haven't done a wedding since October. Like it's been this, like
Crazy.
I said, when I joke and I'm like, dude, this has been the leanest couple of years for private events for me. I'm not fucking kidding. Now things are starting to get back in. Like I've got 9 on the books for next year alone, which is great. It's awesome. And they're all clumped together and they're all like trivia fam. Like they're all people that had come from trivia, one sort or another, either referral outside of it or someone directly. So like people are just getting married is what it is. And it's pretty fucking badass.
Sure.
So I am booked. I have a lot of shit coming up, and I'm out there on Saturday. I do this wedding, and it was an absolute blast. It was so much fun. Got that done, and it was interesting because most receptions are like a 5 to 10 or a 5 to 9 type affair, or a 6 to 11 or something. This one started at like 2 and went to 8, and which was awesome because I got out on Sunday with the boat. And Sunday was an interesting deal. So the next piece of content that I'm working on right now is a video where I am trying to do what a very niche-y, like outfitter or guide experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I am trying to create what I'm loosely calling Bobby Roast Beef's
Fish Whistle Outfitters.
And so I've been asking people in and around the cannabis community, and I'm like, hey, I go, would you appreciate a service where you could go out with a sober captain on their ship using their gear with their experience to go out and get ripped on the water and have a great time catching fish? And people have overwhelmingly been like,
hell yeah.
So I just wanted to go through the mechanics and try it out. So another one in the trivia fam is great couple, Kayla and Kyle. Great couple. They've been married for a few years. They've been playing trivia pre-COVID. Like I love these two. They're great.
Yeah.
Kyle works in the cannabis world, and I was like, if you guys are interested, I go, I have this thing going. I'd love to take you out. So I know that Kyle doesn't really fish regularly. He has fished. Kayla was totally green. She's never held a spinning rod in her life. So what I did was I was like, what we're going to do is I was like, I just, there's a couple other teams too. Some have fishing ability, and some experience. So I'm trying to gauge like what people think about this, like what their experience is. So what I did was this. I was like, there's a couple of bodies of water that I think will be a good call. And we're not going to go out for a crazy day. Like, you got me all day. Like, if you're having a blast, we'll be out there all day if need be. I was like, I just have to be off the water for trivia. That's it. So we go out, and this is how I started my day. I texted them, and I was like, we are going to leave. I'll pick you up anytime between 9 and 10 a.m. at this launch. So we went to a local body of water. I get out on this body of water at 6. I gotten up, I had gone and iced up the cooler, threw some tasty beverages in there, and all like non-alcoholic beverages, booze-free on these events, and bottled waters and stuff to keep everybody, happy. I also had picked up a lighter. I had iced up the double wall steel insulated water bong, and I brought out some jigglers and a grinder, and we were going to fucking have a party. It was going to be a good time. And I went out and I pre-fished for 2 or 3 hours. Got out there. Yeah, I fished until about 8:30. And all I wanted to do was see if I could put together a pattern in advance. And I did. I put 2 or 3 fish in the boat and I just stopped. Then I went and I rigged a couple of spinning combos with the bait that I was throwing. So I went out there and I was, just to see what happens. I went with a confidence bait, and sure than shit, that seemed to be the job. I put 3 fish in the boat. 2 of them stayed in the box so that I would guarantee they would get a picture holding a couple of bass. So I was running my battery all over the place yesterday. It was nuts. I was running the aerator all day just to make sure these fish were healthy. Everything was good. Yeah. What we caught them on were finesse swim baits. Little eighth ounce jig heads, jig masters, so that the hook points set a little bit further back.
Why not? They're going to catch fish.
That's
people
exactly
on the boat.
it.
You know what I mean?
And I was like, if it's a really
and like easy.
and it's engaging and involved. It's chuck and wind.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So they can
it's
cover
not
water.
like dragging a jig where you're just like, fuck.
And I'm like, if it's gonna be that kind of fishing, then that's okay. But I want to know. I don't want to discover this with them. I want a little bit of a peek at what's going on. So I go in and I can catch them that way. I can also catch them close to cover on jigs. I was throwing a finesse jig and I caught a couple there. I was like, all right, that's cool. But I was like, we're going to start them with some swim baits and see how they do. So I go and I rig these two setups. I didn't need to rig another couple of things. I only had to replace the plastics because they were getting torn up because these two caught a shit ton of fish.
Hell yeah.
Now for Kayla, this was her first time ever catching a fish ever. And I have this moment that was captured on camera. It's for sure on the wide angle. I was standing on the main floor because what I was doing was the way I did this was I set up the two casting decks and I sat in the captain's chair sipping a Diet Coke, just chilling. I would occasionally flip a bait off the opposite side of the boat. And occasionally I pull out a fish as well with one of my combos. But it was very chill for me. It was a very different implication experience for Bobby Roast Beef.
That sounds wrong.
So they get on the boat. Kayla's first fish, this moment I hope is on camera. And I hope I got the clip so that the audio is so crisp. So she catches her first fish. Like she had a couple that like bit and then came off. And I was just like, I said, just make sure you keep that pressure. Like when you feel them on and you can feel them move, I'm like, and you're for sure like that's not weeds or whatever. I was like, reel down a little bit and lean in and keep that nice and tight. So that way that little tiny hook is going to penetrate further and hold much better. And she's like, okay, cool. She gets her first fish in the boat. Of course, I'm netting all of these fish like they are fucking 25s, every single one. And we're talking 10-inch bass here. Like for the most part, I think the biggest one was 13 inches all day. Yeah. And I'm like, so I'm like, all right, here we go. I was like, do you want to hold him? She's like, yes. She's so excited. I was like, so you're just going to grab right here at his lip. And I was like, and just hold up his tail like this and hold him out a little bit and we'll get a picture. Now, Kyle took all the pictures. I'm waiting to get a bunch of them because I got to show some of these. They are like, she goes, look at the smile on my face here. She's like, I look like I'm 4 years old and it's Christmas. It is insane. She's like,
that's awesome.
And she was like, I didn't know how this was going to go. But what was funny was when she grabbed the fish, she let out this like sound. Like there was an absolute wretch right there. It was ridiculous. And I froze. I was like, what the fuck is even happening here? Have you ever watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Love that show, dude.
So you know the scene where D, it's like the "You haven't walked a mile in my shoes" episode. D and Charlie go off, and she goes to the improv night, the comedy stand-up night. Yep. And then, at the end, I was like, oh, God, look at Kyle. He knows what I'm talking about. I go. It's kind of like, hey, do you guys ever have cheese? You know, cheese is kind of weird. Cheese is kind of. It was the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Yes.
I laughed my ass off. It was so good. We fished until about like 1 o'clock. The heat was pretty crazy. The sun was overhead. They got their last. We changed up spots. The wind had picked up, and that was the thing. It was like I was reading conditions. Like we had some cloud cover. We had some pretty good wind. I was like, I got a feeling that these fish are going to be moving, and they definitely were. So they caught fish, had a great time. They're like, yeah, we're thinking about going out for lunch. They're like, what do you recommend? And I sent them over to Pit Stop Barbecue. Absolute gangster. I packed up the boat. Everything was cool. In fact, like because I know everybody from trivia, one of my former players rolls up to me at the boat launch and he's like, dude, last time he saw me there, I was in the kayak. He's like, when'd you get this? I'm like, oh, it's been a hot minute. I'm like, it's been a minute. And we caught up. It was a great day. I went to trivia last night and here we are. Here we are recording the show, folks. So yeah, it's needless to say, it has been a wild week of bullshit for Bobby Roast Beef. But you know, I have a week now that I can dedicate. You know what was one of the things that's happening this week, Joe? And I've said it all summer long, but I mean it now. These electronics are going on the boat this week.
I was just going to say it.
They're going on the boat.
I was just going to say it.
Yeah, that transducer's going on. I have a couple of components I need to get, straightened out. That definitely that Lowrance is going on for sure. And I have to start fucking around to figure out where I'm going to get power off the trolling motor for my the Striker. I'm not trying to run like
right.
wires all over under the deck or anything. I'd like to do it at the motor if possible.
I have. Let me think. Give me a second. Okay. So I'm going to go look in the garage, make sure I still have it. I have a brand new 50 amp hour Ionic. As long as I find it, I'll bring it to work tomorrow and you just come grab it.
What is that? A battery?
Yeah.
Really? All right. Yeah. Let me know.
Let me just, it's in the garage somewhere.
Yeah.
It's brand new, dude. Never use it. I had it for the Skeeter. It's still in the box. So, yeah. I'll just have you meet me at work.
All right. Yeah. That's awesome, dude. Thanks. That's great. Yeah. My goal is, what I really want to do is if I can keep the wiring. You know how my boat has like this empty space right up at the bow where the trolling motor mounts? I'd like to keep all the wiring inside of that and just like run it outside the fabric, just like my trolling motor stuff does.
Yeah, that's what I mean. With that little battery, you might be able to just keep it all right up there.
Oh, just tuck it right in. That might be fucking perfect right there.
Yeah.
That might be
it's small, dude. It's only a 50 amp hour, but it'll run your shit all day. It's a fucking lithium.
A 50, exactly. Something like that. I mean, shit, you can get days and days off of something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's badass, dude. That'll be fucking perfect. Yeah. And that's my goal. Like, I would love to buy, like, the point is I want all of this dialed so that when things get really cold, and we're gonna do like a fall fishing just the tip in probably next week's episode. Because I'm doing my homework now to kind of have like some notes, some things to hit. But when things get really, really cold in like early December, I want to be on that boat with like a hot cup of coffee, just mapping and scanning. So that comes spring, I'm like, I'm going to hit this spot. Even if like it's a place I want to travel to, like I would 100% put the miles in, stay for a night or two, fish obviously, but just scan, you know? Fucking A. Yeah, be badass. Watch some TV on the old implication.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, that's something I want to do, like some bodies of water. I just gotta scan them. But you know what? Let's talk about bodies of water for a second, Bobby.
All right.
I was gonna talk about in the news segment, but it's not really news. So around here, I don't know if you've heard, there's a couple like big bass fishing bodies of water that have been like quarantined and off limits. Have you heard about that? I heard
about that, but like, what's the reason for it?
I figured blue-green algae is so bad.
It is,
and they're afraid of people putting in their boats and spreading it around,
moving it from spot to spot. I could see that.
Yeah, so Quabog is one of them, which is I've seen it there many of times, but never seen it so bad to where they quarantined it.
That's crazy.
And the big one that had a lot of implication on like some business and stuff was Webster Lake has been shut off.
Really? I didn't realize that was one of them.
Yeah, so Webster Lake was, and that's the first time I've ever heard of them having that. And it really fucked on the business at Indian Ranch.
Really?
Yeah, because like a lot of people bring their boats up and stuff that.
Yeah,
so that's, this is what I'm hearing. I don't know if it's back open yet. I haven't really, but I was actually going to go there, a couple weekends ago, and Josh Codier, it just so happened he called me for something else, and I was like, yeah, I think we're gonna go. He's like, don't go all the way out there. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you can't launch, like it's closed. I was like, that's holy wild. Shit,
that's fucking wild.
Yeah, so if you guys know that there's like some algae bloom or something going on in a lake, bring your fucking boat, hose it down, do something so you don't spread that. I know we like around here, we don't really give a shit or whatever, but that's kind of one of those things where it's a big deal because now a bunch of tournaments have been canceled for both those bodies of water. And it's kind of been a mess for the tournament scene.
Definitely. So, dude, that's right. Because it's funny. When I think of the blue-green algae blooms, I don't think of like huge bodies of water like that. I really don't.
Me neither. Yeah. That's why I was like, wait, what?
Like it's usually I'm thinking of like Nashawanic over here, like these little ponds. And I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Although, I will say, and this is crazy. So for a long time, Nashawanic, and they might be onto something, I don't know. But for a long time, Nashawanic would be on some type of a quarantine for like a week, maybe a year, every year. Like once you got into like the real heat of the summer, it seemed like there would be a bloom and they're just like, fuck, that's it. It's been a few years now and they've been doing this thing where every like, it's like right around like a ice out, like early spring, like basically pre-spawn, they dump these, like they're like mesh plastic bags, almost like you would buy like onions in, you know what I mean? Something like that. But they're full of barley. And they just throw them in, like, they lay them down around the bank, like around like tree lines and stuff like that, and just drop them in there. And what happens is that barley will start to like expand because it takes on the water and float off. And apparently that combats the blue-green algae. And for the last handful of years, they haven't had a shutdown. Now, granted, this year I haven't fished there for beans. But last year I did, and the year before I was in the kayak there constantly. Never had an issue over there. It's crazy. It's been a few years. So, I mean, that's a lot of fucking barley. It's fucking to go around the perimeter of Webster. Yeah. But, geez.
That's wild. It's wild.
It really is. That's fucking nuts, dude. That is nuts. Well, so that is in place of the headlines. That was our headline. Oh no, I got a headline. Well, shit. Let's go ahead and do it. Here we go.
All right, so this week we have one that pisses me off and impresses me at the same time.
Those are the best.
Man uses phone to electrocute fish and gets fined.
Uses phone?
In a bizarre twist on illegal fishing tactics, Georgia game wardens busted a man using an antique crank telephone to electrocute fish in a rural creek, according to the Georgia Department of Natural Resources. The incident occurred around 7:30 p.m. on Friday, August 15th, when Sergeant Matt Garthright and game warden Chasen Brogdon were patrolling public fishing spots in Wilkes County, about 110 miles east of Atlanta. The officers noticed a man and a woman acting a little suspicious near the water. As they approached, they observed the male subject moving away with a wooden box in his hands. The DNR reported on a Facebook post, as they got closer, the man threw the box into the creek. Sergeant Garthright retrieved the box, which turned out to be a vintage crank telephone, a relic of early telecommunications once used to signal operators. But in this case, it was being used for something a little less innocent, like shocking fish. The man, a 29-year-old from Mississippi who was in Georgia for work, was charged with shocking fish, an illegal method of taking fish by means of electric current. According to experts, the technique can temporarily stun fish, causing them to float to the surface where they can be easily scooped out. So, what is electrofishing? Electrofishing is a fishing technique that uses electric currents to temporarily stun fish, making them easier to capture. Electrodes placed in the water emit a controlled electric field, which causes fish to swim towards the current, and become momentarily immobilized. This is how they do, the studies of fish all the time.
Yeah.
While commonly used by scientists and wildlife agencies for fish population surveys, electrofishing is illegal for recreation use in most places due to its potential harm to fish and aquatic ecosystem if not properly managed. While researchers use controlled electric currents to harmlessly stun fish for study, poachers have adapted to techniques to illegally harvest large numbers of fish with crude, homemade devices, often using car batteries and metal rods. And that's pretty. They didn't tell. That's pretty much it. It just kind of goes back into like how you electrocute fish, which we need to talk about. But he was fined, and here we go. Neither the man nor the woman had a valid fishing license at the time, and wardens gave them the opportunity to purchase licenses online to come into compliance. However, the crank phone was confiscated on the spot. The Georgia DNR reminds anglers that all fishing methods must comply with the state regulations, that innovation doesn't always equal legality.
It's true. That's 100% true.
See,
I'm amazed.
I'm pissed, but I'm impressed.
I am impressed. I am. Like, I really am. It's like it's a shitty thing, you know? And that's the thing. Like, states are very widely with like what they allow. Like, you don't have to go far from where we are to be able to use trot lines, but you can't use them in mass. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. It's like what works, what jives in one state sometimes won't work in another. I'm a little bit impressed that it's somebody under 30 years old even knew what a crank telephone was.
Yes. Yep. 100%. Someone did their research or paid attention in science class.
Yeah, that's wild. That is wild, man.
Yeah. So that's our fun little headline for the week.
Huh. That's fucking interesting, dude. That is crazy. So why don't we do this? We're going to take a short break. We're going to come right back, guys. We got to adjust the tip this week. If you've been thinking about some type of a trip, you know, you want to plan something, now's the time. Like, time is important when it comes to all this. But I'm going to give you some tips on how to really kind of capitalize and make the most out of a trip with the boys. And you don't need to take like a full week or anything. In fact, I'm going to give you a mock-up of what would be a 3-day itinerary. And we'll see you guys in a bit. Don't go too far. Much more Jigs and Bigs coming up after this.
And perhaps play a little game called Just the Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels. Or ouch, ouch, you're on my hair.
Okay.
Yep. Alrighty, guys. So we're going to talk this week, just the tip, about planning a fishing trip. I wrestled with this a little bit. I was like, I go, here, we're at a point in the year right now where a lot of people are going to start throwing around the F word. And I am not talking about fuck. I'm talking about fall. But I'm here to tell you guys that it ain't fall, y'all. Keep your sweaters, off in the closets for a little bit. But we're going to talk about fall fishing next week. So I figured I'd capitalize on this and do adjust the tip that I have been wanting to do for a while. And it's basically an example of a freshwater fishing trip guide when you're going out
with the boys
or the girls. Really, it works for everybody. So things to consider here are like your budget, like getting into this. Because a lot of people, that's the primary concern. They're like, oh, I'd love to do a trip. That's kind of my goal, blah, 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 blah. We're not getting any younger. It's a good opportunity to do this stuff in the present day because you can't go back in time and do it. So you might as well get it done. But everybody's got a budget that they got to work with. And you got to look at what is the overall goal. Think of the people who were involved. What are they going to think is more in the world realm of budget. So these can go all the way from like a high budget type trip where you're talking about like guided trips, all-inclusive lodges, like you were talking chartered boats and catered meals and the whole nine. Don't get me wrong. Those are awesome, but they're not necessarily for everybody. Then somewhere like in the middle, which is probably, I would say, some of the nicest way to go about it, but also ability to make it reasonable is to do like, you get a cabin or a motel or something, you split it among the group. If you needed to rent a boat, you look into that option as a group. And then you share the meal prep and the groceries. So you kind of split things up overall. And then on the more extreme, like lower budget, a good way to do it is you focus more on like your camping, stuff like that. You cook every single one of your own meals. You maybe make it a kayak trip and everybody brings their yak, or you do bank access, or you just bring smaller boats if whatever that situation might be. But there are options, and you just got to tackle it a little bit at a time. Another great way to figure out like the food is, when you go on one of these trips, you want to plan ahead, especially on a budget situation. Planning ahead, if you're doing a lot of cooking, pre-marinate your meats, portion your snacks in advance, prep for your breakfast burritos. Maybe that's, especially if you're camping, these are really helpful. So like do the prep in advance at home, so that way when you're there you can capitalize more on the time. Shore lunch is a great thing to do for a fishing trip when you're out. Just make sure to bring out a skillet, oil, a small stove, and you can catch some fish and then cook right there on the bank. It's also a really really advisable thing to share a rotation among the group. Assign different meals to different folks, so that way you don't have to necessarily worry about it. You can focus on what you have to, and nobody's stuck cooking the whole time for the entire group, unless you have that one guy that's like, nope, I got this. This is what I want to do. So just work it out in advance. Strategize your cooler. One cooler for drinks, maybe one for food, one for fish if you're keeping them. Keep things organized that way, and you're not, diving into different coolers for different stuff, exposing them to heat when they don't need to be. And then your quick grab and go options. Have some jerky on hand, some trail mix, granola bars, things like that, especially in the boat on the water day of. But let's talk about some tips. You want to book all of your lodging as far in advance as you can, because that's the stuff that's going to book up and be a problem. Especially if you're planning on going in like what would be peak season. We're talking about, bodies of water, like summertime especially is going to be pretty crazy. But if it's a destination body of water, you got to keep in mind that, the spawn might be an issue booking there. Keep that in mind. So if you're going to some of the, and these are some lakes that folks might have on their list, like Lake of the Woods, if you're going to go to Okeechobee, Gunnersville, Lake Fork, if you're going to do a Champlain trip, or you're going to California and Clear Lake, or you're fishing the Great Lakes, you're going to fish Erie or something, the Boundary Waters in Minnesota, if you're fishing St. Clair like I did, or you're going to like Tahoe or whatever, whatever the trip is, plan it in advance and try to get your lodging, because once you square that down, that is a huge step. Check the local fishing regulations, and this plays right into what Joe was just talking about. Make sure that your method of fishing that you're able to that you're looking to do, or the fish you're targeting, are targetable that time of year that you're there, because it would suck to get there and realize, oh, it's not such and such season for this, for pike, if I'm going for that, or I can't fish for trout with anything other than flies up until this date of the year, or whatever that might be. So keep that in mind. Consider weather backups. Think about what you're going to do on those off days if it goes to shit. So that might be something as easy as like having a deck of cards, or having some board games to play, around camp or something. Or, maybe you have a specific meal that if the weather goes to shit, it's going to take a while. That's when you put that meal together. Scout new spots. If you're looking at other stuff, like go and look at other places, other bodies of water, and capitalize on that downtime. This kind of happened to us when I was in North Carolina with the Jabberhammer.
Yeah,
we had shit rain that for most of the day. We sent it, like we went for it anyway. So that could also mean, when I say prepare for weather backups, make sure that you've got your rain gear, make sure that you've got your bibs, make sure that you got boots, make sure that you maybe have an extra pair if you're able to keep that stuff, so that way you've always got a dry pair to be able to go to if need be. So you're good to go, because if you're putting all this effort into it, you want to make sure that you're on the water, but be safe, obviously. Don't let something like some, rain, that would easily be fishable otherwise, don't let that stop you if you could easily make sure that you have rain gear on hand. So let's go through, there's a couple more tips that I actually have here. And now it goes into, most importantly, you want to keep it fun, relaxed, and full of laughs. Because while, yes, you are going out there to catch fish, ultimately what you're doing is you're going there to experience that fishery, share the experience with some good friends, and create memories that you guys will be laughing and joking about for multiple fishing trips down the road. So that's what it's all about. Now, I figured this is similar to a way that I like to plan my trips. And I'm going to plug a few things in here to keep it very wide and open to everybody. But what I do whenever I'm booking a trip is I start a brand new fresh note on my phone. And it's basically just an outline of each day and the associated gear that I might need that sticks out for me on that day. And then below, I have a full gear list. And I go through and I make sure that I have all of this stuff so that when I leave and I'm on the road, I'm as well prepared as possible, and it's one less thing. Because I don't know if you know this about your boy, but
Your boy likes to smoke a little bit of weed.
and sometimes that can lead to just being forgetful. So taking the preparations in advance to like have all of this stuff lined up and know I'm prepared is ready to go. So a typical 3-day fishing trip itinerary. So it could be plug and play. So let's say hypothetically we're going to a lake. You want to put the location. Where are you going? So let's say we're going up to Champlain, right? And you could even go so far as to list like the target species. What are you going to Champlain to catch? Put this together. Keep it in mind, and then list off like all of your information, your lodging, where are you staying, everything else. Because if you're going with other folks, they're gonna ask you these questions. And at least being able to have this stuff, like, oh, what's the address of the camp that we're at, or what's the address of this? You'll have it at hand. And just by having it in place, you're not having to dig through emails or go through whatever. Like, you have it on the itinerary. So you figure day one, you arrive, and that's your first crack at fishing there, right? So that morning you get up, you travel, you get on the road, however long it takes you get there, you check into your lodging, you get all set. Maybe you stop at a local bait shop, you handle your licenses if need be, or maybe you just do this online. You grab any kind of bait or stuff there. But the best part is get a little bit of intel from some folks that are there. Ask questions. The locals will share some stuff, and you can take it with a grain of salt if you want. But remember that sometimes these guys they see enough folks that come in here, and they're like, we've been on the water long enough. They have some info that they can share. They might tip you off, at least to where maybe they're grouping up or where the bite has been lately. That first afternoon, maybe you send it and you go out and you hit the water. First eyes on the water, get out there. Maybe you're pre-fishing for like a really big day or something, but you get out there and you make it happen. You want to focus on, more just like getting used to the body of water. Like, look at some maps while you're out there. Take a look get eyes on the fishy shit, those high percentage areas. And then, maybe you plan like dinner afterwards. You get out, maybe you just grill like burgers and dogs or something. Lots of times when I do these trips, I like to make that first meal. Like, I'll just order pizza for the group. Like, it makes it so much easier. And that's just me. But if you want to go and throw something together real quick, you can definitely go ahead and do that. That evening is a great time to talk and come up with any kind of plans. What kind of info could you pull from being on the water that day that you can apply to the next day's trip? And then, you have a couple of beers, maybe, enjoy some edibles and call it a night. That's the plan. And then the next day, generally, like, this would be on a 3-day trip, this would be the big day. So early morning, you maybe have a cup of coffee, everybody gets their business handled, gets their stuff together. Maybe you do something quick for breakfast. And then you hit the water right at first light. You go out, you hit it hard. In the situation with St. Clair, myself and Todd, we didn't take a break for lunch or anything, but it's a good time to put a little reminder in there midday, break for, lunch, be it on the shore, or, hey, we're going to grab sandwiches and take them out with us and find a spot or whatever, something like that. That afternoon, maybe you want to change things up and mix it up, or maybe you're just going hard. You're just going straight through the afternoon, and then you get to dinner that night. Well, this is where like that cook rotation works really nice. So if you have a couple of people, you'd be like, hey, you do dinner the second night, I'll do dinner the third night, or however, you plan to do it, or everybody is in charge of a specific thing. That is also really helpful too. Like, you'll handle the sides, I'm going to handle the steaks, or whatever it is. And it's like I said earlier, it's a great way to like spread the budget around and make it a little bit easier. That night is a good time to, maybe go out and get a night bite. Fish the low light hours and see what we can come up with. That evening is like your opportunity. If you're camping, great opportunity to just enjoy the campfire, have a couple of burley pops, and share a few fish stories. Just enjoy yourselves. Maybe that next day, this is like your final morning, and then like departure. This is the last day of it. You get out first thing in the morning again, a light breakfast, hit the water hard. Maybe late morning, you get off the water and start packing things up, or maybe you do this around lunch or whenever your departure is. I would recommend, if you are camping, get up crazy early that morning and break camp early if you're planning on hitting the water. That's my tip. Break camp early unless you're able to depart later enough in the day. But breaking camp, it often takes more work than just like packing up from an Airbnb. You know what I'm saying? It's different animals completely. So whatever your lodging situation is, plan around that. But if you're going to do an early send that morning, I would recommend breaking camp first thing, or maybe even before you go to bed, get a few things in order so that way you can tear down and be on your way. Or make, even if you have to, special arrangements to where you're like, we're going to break camp that evening or whatever. You know, figure out the terms for where you're staying and, you know, work within those. And then, you know, you leave that day, you travel that last day, you're on your way back. And then for like the meal rotation, I mentioned this, like maybe the dinner day one, everybody pitches in and you do like burgers and dogs. Day two's breakfast, you assign somebody to handle that meal. Day two's lunch, maybe it's a shore lunch and everybody's just, hey, it's the pressure's on to catch. Or, you know, maybe somebody's in charge of that. Day two's dinner, you assign to another team, another whomever is on the trip, or it, you know, cycles around. Day three's breakfast. You know, maybe you do something simple, grab and go, or you assign it so that way everybody's got to cook one time, something like that. As far as your checklist for gear, you want to have extra of as much as you can carry. So within reason, if you're backpacking on this trip, and maybe you're only going to carry one travel rod, you know, you want to make it count, obviously. So keep that in mind. But if you're traveling in a vehicle like I do the vast majority of the time, I'm able to bring every single rod I've got with me in the truck. Plus, I could bring more in the boat if need be. If you're doing a trip where you're flying, plan in advance. If you have to check your rods and reels, you want to know what it is that you're bringing, but you want to have enough to have extra so you don't run out should something happen on the water to your gear, making it where you're screwed. You don't want to have one combo to use and something go down. Coolers, you want to have one for food. Ideally, you want to have one for food, one for drinks, and then one for fish if you're keeping them. Don't mix them up because you'll just go through more ice overall. Plus, like, let's be honest, there's nothing worse than having all your fish in one and then grabbing a beer and going,
this tastes like walleye.
I'm just saying. Your camp kitchen gear, this is a good idea, the box that you should put together every time you take a trip, no matter what, regardless if it's an Airbnb or it's or you're camping. You know, you want to have a skillet. Some like foil is your friend. Oils, seasonings, things like that you're going to use for every single dish. It is a good idea to have a small camp stove. They come in so much more handy than you realize. And then some type of a folding platform you could put over like a campfire to cook that way. Because then you have options. You know, you can always put that folding rack, you know, on and put your camp stove under it if you have a big cast iron and that camp stove can't support it. It goes a lot further. Obviously, we mentioned rain gear. That's a big one. Layered clothing, so that this way, if a cold front comes through and it's ridiculous, you don't want to be out there freezing. So be prepared. First aid kit goes without saying. Sunscreen and bug spray without saying. 100% every trip that you have. That should be in your boat no matter what. Playing cards or dice or something like for downtime always comes in handy. It just does. And then a camera or GoPro, some type of a camera, even your phone, just make sure you're charged or have, you know, a way to charge up otherwise, a battery pack or something, because you're going to want to capture memories on these trips. If nothing else, you're going to want to take photographs of some of these absolute killer catches. You're going to absolutely want to document some of this stuff just to share amongst your groups and the funny moments too, stuff like that. And these will be going back and forth in text groups for a long time to come. So this setup kind of gives you a little bit of a balanced trip. It's fishing heavy, but there's plenty of food, laughs, and flexibility at really all skill levels. So if you're thinking about going to a body of water and fooling around here, look into it. Now, I do want to add one thing there, and that's guides. If you want to fish like a legendary body of water, like I mentioned before, you want to go to like Lake Fork. All right. I cannot tell you how much value I would put on going with a guide that is experienced in that body of water. It just takes out the guessing game, unless, of course, you're there specifically for the challenge. You know, you're looking at maps, you're looking at where you are and trying to break them down. Both elements of this are very, very satisfying. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like you can hit a lot of goals that way. It feels really great to say we really figured them out on this day, or to talk about, you know, when you're out fishing and you know it's a tough bite. That tournament Todd and I fished together was one of those days, and I feel like we bonded on the fucking difficulty there and the muskie more than probably I cared to. So I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, dudes, take trips. Life is too short. Get out there, go with your friends. Like, especially if you have paid time off and you have the ability. If you're one of these people that finds that you don't use all your PTO, use it this way. Think about it, because then you get the bonus of being like, I'm at this trip fishing and I'm still getting paid the 8 hours I would have today. If you're in my situation, I see the value in taking the time off for sure for these trips, but I'm not out there getting paid for it. It's fucking brutal. John comments and he goes, Bobby and Joe going to be at the Cape Cod October 16th and 17th, my place. Would love to have y'all. Jay Manning and a few others will be there as well. Well, shit. October 16th and 17th. That sounds fucking fantastic. We'll throw that sucker around.
Yeah.
We'll throw that sucker around. I am planning a trip for September, my birthday weekend.
Awesome.
I think I'm going to go to Zek's part of the country.
Awesome.
That's the plan. There's a kayak adventure series that's down there. I don't think I'm going to be competing in it or anything like that. I'm going to bring the boat, I think, because I want to make some content. But we have a couple of folks that fish heavily in that area that I would love to try to collab with, if possible. It could be a whole lot of fun. So I'm hoping that trip we can make a steelhead video. That would be great. That would be great. I'd also like to smoke some steelhead. So we'll see. We'll figure some shit out. But so that is this week's Just the Tip. I hope you guys got something out of it. Like, taking these trips, it's like we're not getting any younger. There's a lot of value there. And, you know, whether you do it for a tournament reason, like Joe when he went to the tournament at where was that, West Point? This last one, like that, like you go to these bodies of water and you have these amazing experiences. And it would be also a little bonus piece of advice. Document it. You might not have a YouTube channel and a follow. You might not be an influencer. Edit a video. Trust me. 6 months after the trip, a year, 2 years after the fact, you'll go back, put together some content on TikTok, keep it together, whatever it is, and go back. You get to relive those memories, and you're just like, that was fucking amazing.
Yeah. Another thing, you know what I use that shit for is like, you know, obviously I put it up on the socials and whatnot, but I use it to see like what I did right, what I did wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
Definitely.
I mean, I did that recently for one of the big ones, a big one that I lost. I'm like, all right. I was like, let me see if I looked at it, and I fucking, for some reason, I sucked on the hook set because my dad was over my left shoulder and I couldn't really go the direction I typically go. Or didn't want to. So, you know, you kind of see what went wrong, what you did right, and you can kind of learn from it too, even at that.
It's just kind of awesome too. And then sometimes when you need that little boost of confidence, you watch these videos when you hook into a giant, you're just like, yeah, what the fuck am I talking about? You know, it's a good thing. So yeah, get out there and travel. But we got some shit. We got some shit. Joe, I have been waiting this whole show for this moment right here. This FTG.
Hey, Bobby, and who the fuck is Joe Brown? I got an FTG. The FTG is, who the fuck is Joe Brown? And I try to follow this dude for 3 months, follow his YouTube page, you feel me? Call it in. Who the fuck is Joe Brown? Follow me and the bandit back. Tight lines.
So if you have a follow request from YP the God and Bandit Fishing, like buried in your follow requests in there, or you've gotten any DMs from them, that's my group that for that Jersey trip that never happened, that we still have to fix. And yeah, we were talking and they were like, man, it's been 3 months we've been following Joe. And when is he going to follow us back? I was like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys.
Guys, I'm sorry. I got like 36,000 followers. I can't. It's tough to follow everybody. I'm so sorry. I just did it. I literally just did it as I heard it.
I knew he would. I was like, absolutely. God
damn it. I knew that was going to come eventually. I knew it was going to happen eventually.
Oh, but you know, I mean, that's just the way it is when when you're in this kind of demand, you know, I mean, it's just the way it is. It's a tough life. It is a tough life. Oh, you know who I saw at that wedding this weekend? The Northeast Wild Woman herself. Cheryl.
Oh, yes. It was like a family member, right?
It was. Yeah. It was her cousin. That was one of the brides. And so we were talking now Cheryl is she's interested in doing a podcast. Okay. And she asked me, she's like, yeah, I got a couple of questions about, like how you record and what do you recommend for this and all of this other stuff. And I told her, I was just like, I am more than happy to help you out. Let's go up to like Stockbridge Bowl and just have our own little multi-species scavenger hunt, and we'll talk shop right there. It'll be awesome. So
have her come guest host with us too.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Get the feel of it.
But she said at the end of the night, she's like, oh yeah, she goes, I saw Joe at the show in what was it, in PA.
Yes. Yep.
And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I was like, and she's like, yeah, at first I walked by and she's like, I know that guy, but I don't know from where. And then she goes looping back around. She's like, holy shit. And for those of you guys that don't know, she has one of the most amazing, like bubbliest personalities you're ever going to meet. But I'll tell you what, when you get her in the woods with a bow, or you get her on or ice fishing, she is so dialed to the outdoors.
Game time.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. I absolutely love her enthusiasm. I told her, I was like, let's get on the boat. We'll talk podcasting. I'm like, I am more than happy to help you out. She's helped out this show, I don't even know for how long, as like the Western Mass Fishing Report organizer and like the fucking dumbasser of the text reports that we send in. She manages to make everything sound so nice and organized and coherent. So we're gonna have to do that. But it was great bumping into her. She also, and I'm gonna roast her a little bit for this. She at the beginning when she arrived, she immediately comes up to me. She's like, "Oh, we're gonna have such a good time. It's gonna be great." She's like, "Can you play this and this and this?" Like, absolutely. She's like, "I'm gonna be on the dance floor. It's awesome." So now this wasn't the most like danciest crowd I've ever had, which is fine. 30 plus years is and especially in New England, like we know. But nobody had a bad time. And I had people popping onto the dance floor and then sitting down and bullshitting with their family and stuff. And of course, all kinds of stuff. She approaches me and she goes,
"Hey, Bobby, can you play something that has like a preset choreographed something or other or instructional dance moves?"
And I was like, "Are you kidding me? This woman asked me to play the chicken dance." I bargained with her. I was like, "Can I give you Macarena?" I was just like, I go, I'll play it if you think it's good. But I go, we've already got a couple of like other line dances that are in here. I'm like, she's like, okay. So she's like, I'll take Macarena. I was like, okay, sounds good. Which, if you've never listened to the lyrics of Macarena, right, or what that song is about, it's not a nice, happy song. It's about a woman cheating on her boyfriend who left to be in the military, and she cheated on him with his two best friends that stayed at home.
Never knew that.
It's a terrible fucking song. It really is. I was like, oh, we'll play it, whatever. It's amazing the songs that people request. Mr. Brightside from The Killers. People request that at weddings, and I'm like, bro. But it packs the dance floor, so I'm not mad at that. Let's go ahead. We're gonna call this segment right here. We're gonna take a quick break and come back. We've got a few different questions in the live well. Some of these are really, really interesting ones too. And we'll see you guys in a bit. Do not go too far. More Jigs and Bigs coming up after this.
Hi there. Welcome to the Live Well, where we crack open a ramp beer and attempt to answer all of your burning questions.
Alrighty, guys. Well, here we are. It's Live Well time. We're wrapping up this show, and if this, for those that don't know, the Live Well is our regular weekly segment where we take prompts from our listening audience. They call in and text us and all this stuff over at the hotline for Jigs and Bigs, and that hotline number is listed in the description of this podcast. And we basically take this information, we answer questions, and you know, we give some insight. You know, so we have 3 calls this week, 3 different callers. We're going to start with a fan favorite. This is Eli. He called in with a very interesting question regarding lakes.
Hey guys, Eli with another question for the Live Well. Thinking about the next year's Bassmaster Elite schedule, what would be your 6 to 7 stop series? What would be your ideal lakes or places to fish? Since we're talking about the Elite Series, I guess we'd probably do it talking about boats, but I guess you could also think about like the Kayak Adventure Series, and if you do a 7-stop series, where would be your ideal places to fish, either out of a boat or kayak? I know that's 2 very different ends of the spectrum, but what would be your top 7 stops if you were to create a series? Yep, see ya.
Yeah.
I think that one's kind of easy for me, to be honest.
Really? Okay. I thought it would be, actually.
For me?
Yeah.
Not in any particular order. Be Fork, Lake Fork,
Yep.
Clear Lake,
Okay.
Pickwick,
Okay.
Okeechobee,
Okeechobee, gotcha.
St. John's River,
St. John's, yeah, all right.
St. Lawrence River,
Obvi.
and then probably my last one. I'm torn. It would either be probably St. Clair or Champlain.
I had a feeling it was going to be, St. Clair would probably be in there. So my take on this is a little bit different. Like, when I came up with that list in the Just the Tip segment, some of those lakes are lakes that I would love to fish. Mine is, and that's sort of how I'm looking at it, obviously. I would say for me, like, I am looking at, so let's knock a few of them that I have fished that I would love to fish again that are already on there. St. Clair at Chickamauga, right?
Oh, shit. I didn't even think of Chickamauga.
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay.
St. Clair, Chickamauga, Champlain, right?
Yep.
I would say, honestly, Clear Lake is on there. I would say, let's see. Falcon Lake, just for the history.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, I would also say the Kissimmee Chain.
That's a good one.
And St. Lawrence River, I'm going to throw in there too, and that is one that's probably the most likely for me that to jump on there. I'm hoping to sneak up there in September, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Benny and I are talking about it.
that'll be a good time. You got to have the electronics for that. That's deep fishing there.
That's a big part of it right there.
You know what's crazy about St. Lawrence River? I've never tried that. Obviously, that's a smallmouth lake. If you are familiar with it, and you had a 1-day tournament.
Yep.
I think you could win it with largemouth.
Really? Oh, really? Huh.
If you knew what you were doing and you knew the lake,
you'd have to. You definitely
I think you could. I know someone who takes 6s, 7s out of there like nothing.
No shit.
But doesn't tournament fish.
Oh, okay.
So if you can get 5 of those, I think you could legitimately compete if you know what you're doing.
Yeah,
on largemouth.
Just
there.
on largemouth.
That's my hot take, dude.
I could see that. I mean, I think honestly, on like if you can catch the largemouth and you can catch the bigs, then I think that you have more of a likelihood, just because largemouth are so much heavier. You know,
not only that, dude, nobody fucking fishes for them up there.
Yeah, they're not targeted at all.
They're not targeted at all.
Yeah, that's crazy. I could see them doing well. And
one of our fish that we brought in last year, Zach and I, was a largemouth that he just randomly got on a drop shot. Yeah, and it was, I think it was I mean, I think it might have been one of our smaller ones, but it was like a little over. It was like 2.5, something like that.
Yeah.
But
still made the limit.
I remember netting it and be like, dude, it's a fucking largemouth. I think I have on video.
Shit.
Yeah.
Now you guys have another trip. You're going up there for that Fish or Die tournament, right?
75% yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, I'm trying to work some logistics of it, just some kind of shit that came down last minute. And that kind of position change at work. Yep. I got to work some like logistical things with it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I'm trying to, so it shouldn't be an issue. Shouldn't be an issue. Looking forward to it.
Benny and I were talking about it, and I was like, man, I'm like, it's a big charitable contribution. Because I'm like, both of us know.
Even for me, dude.
Yeah, both of us know. Like, we're not competitive there at all. Like, I'm not sure that Binya's I haven't fished there ever.
Yeah.
So
but you know what, dude? It's okay. Like, obviously local lakes that like, I'm like, fuck, like if it's an open, I know there's 3 guys in here. That's all they fish. Like, I'm not doing that. That, dude, yes, it's a charitable contribution, but dude, just the experience, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Like,
100%. Like we were considering going like the week following. Yep. And we're like, because then the pressure that's off. Plus, like there won't be a tournament group necessarily that we know taking up lodging and stuff. So maybe we'll have a little bit of easier time. We're going to toy around with it, but that place
is so big, dude, with 80 boats. You usually don't even see another boat.
Yeah. It's wild. It is absolutely wild. So that is a pretty solid question right there, and a good list of lakes. Now this one comes in. This one is from Brandon, which is interesting. After dropping that FTG, he calls with just the tip section. So let's pop this on and see what we got. I don't think I've actually listened to this one.
What's up, Bobby? And who the fuck is Joe Brown? So caught one fish today at the pond. Other fish, like this lake kicks my ass. So you have a lake that kicks your ass, like you're so finicky. Like do the bluegill glide bait. I had a bite. So what would you follow up with? It's like trout, big trout, salmon trout, whatever you call them, and some bass in there. Seen some bluegill footer around too. Finally got bit on that glide bait, but lost the fish, unfortunately. So, any tips on that? Thank you.
All right. So I remember he actually posted that glide in this chat with the. I think actually after that trip, he caught some more on that glide, and it's a good looking glide bait too.
Is it a big glide bait?
No. This is like a bait finesse glide bait.
Okay.
Like it's really, really compact. I'm gonna go through that group and see if I can't track it down. But as far as follow up baits, that's a tricky question, Brandon, because and I say this mainly because the when you go out and you're catching them in a specific area. Here we go. This is that glide right there. He caught this bluegill on this glide.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's really small.
It's very, very tiny.
Yeah.
So, but that looks like, honestly, it kind of looks like a baby bass or a perch pattern on there. So, I mean, there's when it comes to follow-ups, like this is where it's a really good idea to have like something like a weightless soft plastic. Is really handy to have in that kind of a situation. I wouldn't even say like a wacky necessarily in a traditional, not a 5-inch Senko. I'd probably throw, if you're throwing that small of an active bait, like a glide like that, where they're chasing and you know that they are eating it. If you can put something in there that's like stunned, that looks that way. Honestly, this would be one of those instances where I think one of the fuzzy dice might get nailed too. You know what I mean? Something like that that's just a small soft plastic. So maybe like a really, really light Ned rig or a small Texas rigged plastic, like a 4-inch worm might be the move. Something along those lines. And that's also going to depend too on the cover. And that's why I say that this is a tough thing to ask, because if it's like a heavy cover situation where maybe you're swimming that glide outside of, say, a laydown, and you got a fish that was like bold enough to chase after it right out and then dart back in. Well, you got to throw something that can handle that cover. So something that's Texas rigged is going to be a little bit better of an idea. A finesse jig, like with a bait, with a what do you call it? A weed guard is going to help. So those are things to keep in mind. So like maybe like a small Ned, an EWG Ned wouldn't be the worst idea. Something like that. So take into consideration the kind of cover that you're throwing into. But yeah, something light, something that's just going to float there and slowly sink. That might look stunned, and you'll probably get a bite on it.
Hover rig.
Oh, a hover rig, yeah. Especially in like
hover rig,
deep
and
water,
a compact fluke.
Yeah.
Weightless fluke.
Yeah. Oh, dude, actually, that's a really, really good point. Like the Zoom Fluke Juniors. You ever seen those little tiny ones?
Exactly.
Oh my God. Something like that is great because that's right in that like 3.5 inch size on a small EWG hook. Like you pop that sucker in there and it just laying there. It's that you might get that fish that turns around. That's like, oh, there it is. And then grabs it.
Yeah. There's a million options. Like I said, the hover rig, you have the, some kind of compact fluke, you have, and again, if you're around cover and stuff, you can tie yourself on a weedless drop shot. There's a million options. I guess the moral of the story here, like Bobby said, slow it down. Something like, especially don't forget if they catch a hook, they're gonna be like, oh, I fucked up. You know what I mean? So the chances of getting that fish to bite again right after is those are great. I love those.
J-Bro's double trouble.
Yeah.
On an EWG Ned, that'll get hammered too.
Yep. Slow it down, make it look like a dying bait fish, and kind of see what happens there. But the options are endless. Like I said, you can, like Bobby said, around that cover or not. I mean, you have that option for drop shot, hover rig, the fluke. I mean, even a small jerk bait. Depending on, if there's nothing there, small jerkbait, pause it. Yeah. The possibilities are endless. Yeah. More of the story is maybe slow it down.
Yeah. 100% for sure. Yeah. And I mean, that's an absolute home run. So this one's interesting. I love this call. This one came in just yesterday, and this has to do directly with Dark Horse Tackle.
Oh, how's she going, eh? It's the koala. Boys, I got a question for the live well. I'm heading up into the bush next week. What from the Dark Horse tackle boxes has worked well for you for trout? And especially things that that may not be jumping out to me immediately, things that are kind of slept on for that. Any suggestions would be great. Thanks, guys. See you later.
That's a challenge.
That's a tough one for me.
That's a challenge.
I might have to get back to him on that. I'm going to have to, so a good thing for me is I save every single Dark Horse tackle box I get. And I make a note as to what I took out of it to know what else was in that box.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I flip up the box, because some of the stuff I don't use right away or whatever. Sure. And that's why I keep them all, but I'll flip up the box and I'll write a note on the inside of like, hey, this was what else was in this box. This is what what I took out of it.
Yep.
But that's a tough one for me because I don't target typically trout.
Yeah.
But when I do, like, I'm very, because I thought about doing it for the browns at that one body of water we know where there's big trout.
Yep.
Just to fuck around, sure. And it was mostly kind of just work electronics, work on some electronic stuff. But I know they love jerk baits.
Oh,
they love jerk baits there. Yep. But those are big ass browns, you know what I mean? So obviously that may not work for rainbows. It's not going to work for brookies and stuff like that. So I might have to text him and kind of see like, all right, give me the scenario here. Like you say, you're in the bush. Are we talking lake? Are we talking creeks? Are we talking this? Are we talking that? But Bobby fishes more trout than I do. So it's been a long time since I really targeted trout.
So there's a couple of things that come to mind. One of the first things, and nobody's going to be surprised when I say this, but it's an inline spinner. the dangle lures, and there's two of them. There's the Cannon and the Crash. They have different shaped blades and give off some different thumps. So I recommend you buy both. Be prepared, and get them in gold and in silver, because trout can just be that way and be picky about it. The reason why I think that this is such a player is that it's not the lightest. So if we're talking like really, really shallow creeks, like really shallow stuff, this might not be the move. In fact, with the Dark Horse stuff, I think you would probably do better off with this in deeper pools in some rivers, or if we're talking about like, you know, some lakes where maybe there's some inlets coming in from, you know, rivers and streams that come in. But I would say that those are a home run. And what's nice is they're about 3/16 of an ounce. And you can run them a little bit deeper. They get absolutely hammered, and they're compact enough where they will be appealing to a variety of different trout species, and a variety of trout from different sizes. So if we're talking about fishing like stalkers that are like stalker size, like we're talking like 12 to 14 inch fish, something like that, they will eat this. Your larger trout will as well. So this kind of opens things up. There's another thing that I would recommend if you're fishing for larger trout. And I'm talking about if there are big trout where you're fishing, and this is also a deeper body of water, is another inline spinner from Picasso. And that's the weedless smartmouth inline. Now this has a weed guard on it, so you can run it in some grassy situations that might be a little bit dicey, you know, and I want to say that this is a ½ ounce. I'm going to take a quick look at it. So it's available in an 1/8 ounce, 3/8 ounce, and a 1/4 ounce. And this gives you some options to play with. But again, it's an inline spinner, has that blade up front, a little bit of flash. You play around with whatever plastic you're using. And honestly, we're going to talk plastics that I've used. You might want to throw one of these on here. I might actually pick one of these up in the 1/8 ounce size, because I only have one in the 1/4, and they're great, but I might pick one up in the 1/8 ounce. And yeah, I think we're going to do that. Let's just do I think that's going to happen this month for sure. That could be a game changer. So there's those two for inline spinners. There's another spinner in here that I would recommend. Now, I personally haven't caught trout on it yet, but I can 100% see this being a great trout bait, and that's the Morsel Finesse spinner bait. The Morsel from Martin's is an ideal kind of size. It's I want to say it's a 1/4 ounce. It is a 1/4 ounce. It's got a single willow leaf blade, and it's available with both silver and gold blades. The color that I would recommend for waters around here, I love the bluegill color with a gold blade. I think that's an absolute home run. You can throw some fantastic trailers on here if you want to bulk it up, but for trout, I would run it as is. I'd run it naked. In fact, I would probably run this sucker on one of my bait finesse rigs and just like drop it into a section of a pool, zip it on back, and see what we can get bit on. Now, the last one is a two-parter that involves a little bit of terminal tackle. It is for terminal tackle. This is the jig head. What is it? Jig Masters Perfected Ball Head Jig, and you can pick your color. I have really been loving the chartreuse heads, but you can go black or green pumpkin. I think they're available in red too. I like to throw them in the 1/8 ounce size. I find it's the most versatile, but it's nice because it's got a screw lock head. And what I would pair that with from Dark Horse Tackle, as far as plastics, is the 3-inch guppy from HH Custom Baits. And those two are such a powerhouse for getting bit with trout. Now, these are all really active. The other alternative with trout fishing is to fish a drop shot. And if you're going to fish a drop shot for trout, I would use a very compact plastic, something like the J-Bros Double Trouble. Because if you nose hook this puppy, right, it's a Ned body. You know, and I mean, you could throw a Ned rig and catch trout too. You could throw this on the bottom and drag it along the bottom at 100%. But it's a nice 3-inch size. It's got these flat vertical tails, and it's just enough to kind of tease them, and they'll bite. I would recommend throwing an open hook Ned if you're going to throw a Ned for trout. Be prepared to lose some because it's going to happen, and pop that sucker on the bottom if that's what they're orientating to. But I would say, as far as like trout lures from Dark Horse, I would feel confident taking those in a box and, smoking some trout and then having some like trout locks and bagels, if you will. I think that's pretty good. I also love that when Nick calls in, he plays up the Canadian accent and the. I think it's awesome. I think it's great. It's like, I'm heading up to the bush, eh? And then I think it's fucking fantastic. I think that's got to be one of my trips, is to go muskie fishing in Canada with the Canadian koala.
Oh, that would be sick.
I think that's got. I mean, I've got the passport doing nothing. Yeah. I've got like everything's good for the boat, especially once I get some electronics and I can feel some shit out. Like that might be the move.
Yep,
it really might be the move, but. Awesome, dude. I think we crushed this show here.
Crushed it, dude.
We absolutely killed it. We're right on time, guys. Let's go ahead. We're going to wrap this sucker up. I hope you guys had a good time joining us for this week's Jigs and Bigs. As always, remember that we have, number one, that slot limit tournament is happening on Saturday. So you got till Friday of this week. If you're listening to this show the week that it dropped, you have until Friday at 11:59 p.m. to get registered for it. I have to register today. Binya registered just the other days. That means somebody else finally registered because he thinks it's bad luck if he's the first one to register. So he's like, I want to wait till somebody else registers. I got a text late last night. He's like,
finally I can register.
I was like, all right, because this is the week. This is the week where everybody loses their mind. I got to talk with him and figure out a plan for what we're going to do as far as where we're fishing. I'm going to be going to Barton's this week. If you want to meet up, I'm debating the idea of using that. I don't know. We'll just kind of have to see how it fishes. Look at conditions on the forecast and figure it out. But I don't know. That might just be the move. But who knows? Who the frick knows? As always, guys, we have some Jigs and Bigs merch available at jigsandbigs.com. Some of you guys ordering some stuff. We actually had one of our listeners order a hat recently, and I had to approve a change to the artwork. I guess there was a color change in like one of the threads to embroider with, and it was like jumping through hoops to get this thing approved and straightened out. But we got it done, so that hat got shipped out a few days ago. We should be good to go. But check out the whole lineup of all our merch over at jigsandbigs.com, guys. And as always, keep tagging us in your fish picks. Joe and I are going to be going and judging some fish in the JB certified stud deal. That is 100% going on. Now that I don't have to deal this week, God help me, I hope I don't have to deal with any more sexual predators at my trivia nights. That would make things much easier. But you guys go ahead, have yourselves a good one. Keep tagging us in your photos and show us what you're doing out there for fishy activities, and we'll do the same. We're going to do the same. For myself and who the fuck is Joe Brown, have yourselves a great week, people. Enjoy it. Get out there. Plan a trip. You earned it, and we'll see you guys like we always say.
Tits and ass, smoke some grass.